Could it really all come down to a Big Mac attack? Could that actually be the way that the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's killer got caught? We are hearing now breaking news that police are questioning a man they caught at a McDonald's after the McDonald's employee called in and said, "I believe this is the guy you're looking for." That's what we're hearing. So if you are like me, you've been following this case intensely. I thought, let's look at it together. Let's explore this together, see what's happening, what's the breaking news, and then we can talk about it. So welcome, everybody. It's good to have you in the chat or watching. I appreciate that very much. So we are hearing that police have found the man, not where they expected. They were looking in Atlanta. We were told that the killer had come from Atlanta to New York, where mysteriously at 6:44 in the morning, the killer knew exactly where Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, would be, that he would be attending a meeting of the board, and was there and gunned him down as he was walking into the hotel. So they're questioning a man not in Atlanta, which is where they supposedly were looking anyway. Supposedly he had taken a bus back to Atlanta, but instead in Alatoona, Pennsylvania. Alatoona, Atlanta, at least they both start with an A, have a T. Other than that, they're really far apart. So why was he in Pennsylvania instead of Atlanta? Did they originally have the wrong guy? Is this a new fellow that they found? We don't really know. And most importantly, why would he or anyone commit this crime? What was the reason behind it? There are some clues that the killer left, and we'll be talking about those as I look at some of the articles that are coming out and what we're finding out about the person who's been arrested. So what law enforcement knows for sure is that somebody gunned down Brian Thompson at 6:44 in the morning as he was arriving at the Hilton. It was the company's annual investor conference, and the person shot him with a 9mm pistol. It resembled a gun that supposedly farmers use to put down animals without causing a loud noise. Ammunition was found near the body that had 3 words written on it. Now, these were not actual bullets that had been used in the shooting, but the bullet said, or the ammunition said, 3 words. One said delay, one said deny, and one said depose. Well, what on earth did that mean? And there's lots of speculation. And of course, one thing it could refer to, particularly given that he was the United Healthcare CEO, it could refer to the idea that United Healthcare had delayed payment or delayed approval of some kind of procedure that someone needed for medical care. Deny could refer to denying a claim that someone had for medical care or for insurance payment of medical care that had already occurred. Depose could refer to a deposition that someone gave, whether it be Brian Thompson or someone entirely different, in a lawsuit or a legal proceeding. But we don't really know. That's sort of cryptic, and it's not really clear what exactly those words meant. Obviously, they are critically important clues about what the message that the killer wanted to send. It appeared it wasn't just a killing that was, say, at least the impression that the person wanted to leave was that it was a killing for a purpose, for a reason, not simply because of anger or, say, an affair. It was something more targeted than that. That was the implication of what was written on those that ammunition that was found there at the scene. So the fact that the shooter knew that Brian Thompson would be at that hotel and where Thompson would be exactly coming to the hotel, that suggested that maybe this person had some inside information about the schedule and what would be happening that day for Brian Thompson. And so that's been a huge mystery throughout the case. Many people have speculated what exactly was the way he knew that Brian Thompson would be right there. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the articles that are being done right now about somebody being detained. And I'll go ahead and refresh because it could be stuff is coming quickly. From Fox News, person detained in Manhunt for United Healthcare CEO. And so, confirming what we knew. And it talks about the fact that they found someone fitting the description. We were given this photograph over here by law enforcement. That photograph, apparently, it was taken at the youth hostel where he stayed overnight. In fact, for an entire week, he was in New York for a week. Now, one of the big questions also was the fact that some of the pictures given out showed the man in one jacket, and then some of them showed him in a different jacket. My personal theory was if he was from Atlanta, then he was like me when I went to the Indiana case recently. It was really a lot colder than the jacket. And so he had purchased an additional heavier jacket, and that was the one shown in some of the pictures. But he wore a mask throughout his stay in New York City, except for this brief moment in time when apparently, if this is the killer, law enforcement says he lowered the mask in order to talk to the youth hostel worker. Some people said to flirt with her. Regardless, it was for some reason there at the youth hostel, maybe to confirm his identity from an ID that he presented. So the law enforcement put out this picture and said, this is a person of interest, and we want you to look for this person. So according to Fox News, the report is that the person they've captured has, or at least they're questioning, let me be careful about that because we don't really know that he's been charged with anything yet, that he had a similar gun, and that people at the McDonald's, employees, recognized him from the wanted posters and said, oh, well, we think this is it. And they are the ones who alerted law enforcement. So kudos to the McDonald's employees who apparently were quick enough on the draw to realize this, that they spotted him. They found a weapon in his pocket, and they also found a fake ID. That's pretty important, of course, because that would be a suggestion that the person was hiding their identity and that he was working on a laptop there at the McDonald's and was spotted doing the same thing at a McDonald's location in New York City. I don't put a lot of stock in that. I'm sure people work at McDonald's all the time, every day on a laptop. So that doesn't seem particularly significant. But obviously, if it's a similar looking person, that's a completely different issue. So one of the surprises, though, is that here it was in Alatoona, not in Atlanta, where recently we were told just yesterday that New York Police Department employees had come down and were looking in Atlanta for the suspect. And it was believed he initially had come to New York City from Atlanta, but here he was caught in Pennsylvania, somewhere entirely different. So then the CNN also reporting, and we'll refresh on each of these to see whether there's anything new or different. So, and they're saying they found a gun and a suppressor and fake IDs. That's plural. I don't know if that's true or not. You might remember in the article we just read, it talked about one ID. So again, this one is saying that he was found in Pennsylvania, had a gun and a suppressor, that he was picked up at the McDonald's and had fake IDs, plural, including one the New York Police Department believes was used by the suspect in New York. So again, that would be a way they'd be circling in on this particular suspect. So this is 280 miles away, they're saying, from the hotel where Brian Thompson was shot, that they are waiting for New York Police Department detectives. They were en route, so we don't have any confirmation yet from anyone from the New York side. And they apparently have not found the weapon. They were hunting in the lake there in Central Park near where they found his backpack. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But they were not able to locate any weapon in the pond there in Central Park. That was one of the things they thought was maybe he threw the gun into the water as he was passing by after the shooting, but they didn't find that. So they haven't found matches for the partial fingerprint and DNA they recovered early. That probably, the place they're looking almost certainly is CODIS, which is a law enforcement database for people already fingerprinted and in the system related to other crimes. So all that means is that this person has not been arrested or convicted of a crime yet. Their fingerprints are not in the CODIS database. At least that's assuming this was the correct fingerprint, it's not in the database yet. They did recover a backpack, and that backpack will be super important. We're going to look at another article about that and about what was said there. And they also recovered a jacket, they're saying. So let's see if ABC has anything new. It's saying Similarly, that they're questioning somebody there in Alatoona, Pennsylvania, and that he, again, found him at McDonald's, had a similar gun, stopped with fake IDs, and did recover writings and a computer. That will be super important, especially given that this is somebody who bothered to write something on ammunition. This is somebody who seems to have a message they want to convey. Unless this is all subterfuge, this is all some kind of screen for a different motive entirely, assuming that those words had great significance to the killer, then what they're looking for is some kind of manifesto, some kind of writing that would explain why he wanted to target this CEO in particular. And they're asking Greyhound for their manifest. In other words, they want to know, did he take Greyhound? They had said they thought he took Greyhound from Atlanta up, and now they're asking, did he take Greyhound, the bus system, over to Alatoona, Pennsylvania, where he was caught? They're working through hundreds of tips. I have no doubt about that. And it does say detectives went to Atlanta, where the bus originated. That's where he began his trip to Manhattan, according to what law enforcement has found thus far. They've looked at mountains of videos and images. And I will say this, they have been extremely fast looking at all of the evidence. They've been putting together video and they've been putting together pictures. It seemed like every day we got something new and something significant that showed us a new picture, a new angle, a new information. So without question, they were clearly on the hunt for looking for somebody, and they have been actively looking for that for days. So we may be seeing the culmination of that. What we're hearing is that someone has been arrested in Alatoona, Pennsylvania. We're waiting to find out whether there's any confirmation that this person is going to be arrested, that they believe this is the same person who shot the United Healthcare CEO. But the fact that there was a fake ID, the fact that he was recognized by McDonald's employees, all of those things will go toward their belief that he may be the person. They'll be hunting, of course, through the laptop and looking for things like that after, I assume, they get a search warrant. So those are the things that we'll be looking for coming up. Now, the FBI had offered a reward of $50,000 on top of a $10,000 reward already offered. So I assume the McDonald's employees will be submitting their information claiming the $60,000 total reward. They are the ones who turned him in. They're the ones who called local law enforcement and said, we believe we see the person from the wanted poster that the FBI put out. So let's take a look. Let me add this back to the screen and take you to the next article that I wanted to show you. Second, finding it. So one of the interesting fallouts from this is the concern by CEOs, not just United Healthcare, but by CEOs in general, that this could indicate a lack of security for them, and that it also might be something that would create copycat crimes, that maybe people would be concerned, maybe the CEOs are concerned because now their health, their safety may be at risk. And of course, one of the concerns is this may be something that other people copy, that they try to do just like was done in this particular case. United Healthcare is obviously a pretty big target because of the fact that as a healthcare insurance company, they control so much of what happens with healthcare in the United States. They are an enormous behemoth of an insurance company, and they have a lot of power and control over the healthcare that people receive. So those are the reasons that they are worried about the United Healthcare CEO being particularly targeted for a purpose, for a reason. Like, in other words, not just a family dispute, not something that related to just a neighbor dispute, something more typical, that he may be targeted because of what his company did, because of his position at. So one of the things that Fox News reported on was that other CEOs were concerned about that as well, because of course, other corporations may be to a greater or lesser degree considered to be targets as well. They may also be considered to be, and when I say target, it's probably the wrong word. What the word I'm looking for is that, or the description of what I'm looking for is they may be considered in a negative light. And so if that negative light is used then to transfer with someone's political beliefs into a crime, that would cause them to be concerned as well. So they're saying that executives are trying to hire security to protect themselves and to prevent that. And clearly that would be something anybody would be concerned about. So Wubby Farm is saying that police have found a 2-page document railing against the healthcare industry. And I can't confirm that. I'll check CNN in just a second and see if they're doing that. But that's obviously just exactly what Wubby Farm is talking about, is the kind of thing that has been of concern from the beginning. Was this related to his position? Was this related to the fact that he is a healthcare CEO and people are angry, or this person was angry at healthcare CEOs? And of course, there was a lot of discussion on social media about it, with people taking positions sometimes that were considered offensive to other people because they were saying, well, healthcare, everybody hates the healthcare. Everybody hates insurance companies. And so that sort of feeling behind it, the belief that United Healthcare is a company that has done bad things, that's exactly what the police are concerned about. Would that have been a motive? So I can't say that, but we'll check on that in just a minute. Thank you for telling us about that. And thank you, Tardigrade. I appreciate that as well. Thank you. So let me go back to the CNN article, and we'll refresh and just see, are they reporting anything new? I don't see anything new in there. It seems to be the same article. We'll do a search in here for page, since he said, the man had a 2-page document railing against the healthcare industry and suggesting violence is the answer. A police official who has seen the document told CNN. So, wow, that is what they're suggesting, and it's been the concern all this time by law enforcement, is that would be exactly what the reason would be. And certainly it was supported by the words that were written on the ammunition that was found there at the scene: the depose, deny, defend. And the meaning of that will depend on what the shooter's motive was, because depose could mean different things. It could mean to take someone out of office, or it could mean to provide testimony prior to a trial in order to be presented at trial, or to give each side information for purposes of the trial. That's how it's commonly used in the legal system in the United States. So let's take a look then at a couple of other articles that I wanted to show you. One, just a second. Let me head over to, that is not it. Just a second. Give me a second. Here we are. Okay, that's this one. From the Times of India. And it's interesting, first of all, how this story has taken on international implications. It's not just a story that is local to the United States, but a story that has international implications. But it says a great deal about the United States and about some of the condition. The fact that immediately people thought, hey, maybe this is related to people's feelings about healthcare, says something significant about the feelings people have about healthcare. It doesn't say anything about whether it's appropriate to murder somebody, but it does say something about how people feel about healthcare in the United States. So that actually, I thought, was a pretty important point. But what they're saying is that there is a bizarre conspiracy theory, and many have emerged, that maybe Brian Thompson wanted to off himself and hired somebody. That seems like an absurd theory to me. But their theory was he hired somebody, and that maybe it would be in order to get insurance. But that's the ultimate strange circumstance. If the owner, the CEO of an insurance company, commits insurance fraud, it seems really unbelievably unlikely to me. I'll just put that as that's too bizarre for me on the conspiracy theories. I'm just not buying it. But I thought it was interesting that even overseas, there's speculation about that there is speculation about why exactly this person would have been killed. And then I also thought this was really fascinating because ABC News had an article about that backpack that they found. They did find a backpack. It was shown in a lot of the photographs that were put out about the killer wearing a backpack. He had a backpack on visibly in the video because it's even available right there on screen. When the video was there's actually a video of what occurred. It hasn't been shown in its entirety publicly because it's such a graphic event, but there is video of that. And one of the things he had on was a backpack. You can see it there in that picture right there that they're showing, that he had on a backpack. And what ABC is saying is that his backpack had Monopoly money. Another, I guess, is that another political statement? I don't know. It's certainly a bizarre and strange circumstance that the backpack would contain something as strange as Monopoly money. And this was a couple of days ago, and they were talking about the fact that they had released this new photograph of him in the back of a cab, and that you can see he's wearing a mask. He's not showing his entire face. The only time he showed his entire face was when that one shot from the youth hostel. And then you had articles. I thought this was particularly telling from the BBC. And the reason I thought it's particularly telling, although I'm also going to show you one from the US, is that there's speculation about the reason for this. What was it that made would make someone so angry that they would want to kill the CEO of a company? And the speculation by the BBC, as you saw, was that it reveals a simmering anger at the US health system. And certainly there are major problems with the US health system and with the funding of it. And there is true frustration about it. Now, is that the reason for this person? Is that the motive for this person to kill the CEO, Brian Thompson? That's what the police at least are looking for. That's at least what they're finding. But I thought it was particularly fascinating that even publications outside the United States are speculating that that could be the reason. And the article talked about the reaction to the crime exposed to simmering rage against $1 trillion industry, and talked about the fact that you have to often get prior authorization to get certain treatments, which deny would certainly go with. If you deny a claim, it could be either after the fact saying, oh, sorry, we don't pay that, you didn't get prior authorization, or it wasn't necessary, or it could be denied in advance. We don't think you need or deserve this surgery. So without question, one of the things that they would have been looking for is whether or not this particular person had a background of some kind of grievance with United Healthcare. And then also an article, this one from USA Today, talked about the concern about, it talked about some of the photographs and things like that. It talked about that, but it also talked about some of the concern about why exactly, and I'll put it down here. Police said the words deny, defend, and depose were written on bullet casings found at the murder scene, a possible reference to insurance companies' tactics in rejecting customer claims. And they also referred to a 2010 book, Delay, Deny, Defend, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. And there is speculation. I haven't even shown you that. Let me add that to the stage. That's the article I was just telling you about from USA Today. So, and then I already showed you that one about the healthcare. So let me pull those out and talk to you for just a minute. So one of the things that I think is going to be critical for people in the United States to consider is exactly what is the reason behind this crime, and separate the anger about United Healthcare from the crime itself. The crime is unacceptable. The crime is not a solution to anger. The two have absolutely no connection. You can't murder someone because you're mad that the insurance company denied your claim, or even because you think they systematically deny claims. Those are two entirely different worlds. But that doesn't mean that it's not an important issue, that the question of simmering anger isn't something that needs to be dealt with or considered. So I'll answer a few questions in the chat. If you would put question marks at the beginning of your question, it'll help me spot it. So that would help me. And in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit about what we'll go back over and we'll check again and see if there's anything new being found. The police obviously are extremely interested in this person they're questioning. And the New York City mayor is expected to speak shortly, they're saying. So that seems significant to me. I don't know what he would say, but the fact that he would come out front, I would think he wouldn't do that unless he felt confident and was being told by law enforcement, we think we have the guy. I would think he wouldn't say that. Or then maybe he would come out front and say, oh, this wasn't the guy, keep looking. Although actually, if he's the mayor, then, and obviously interested in politics and being elected politically, he's probably not going to do that. He's probably going to say, look, you got the wrong guy. You law enforcement, tell people about that. I'm not getting out in front of that. That's what I would think. Okay, so I'm looking for question marks at the beginning to see what people think about that or what they have questions about the case. I am all the way back up at the beginning. Okay, Dixie Doodles. Did he have a gun on him in McDonald's? It appears, yes, at least the reports are that a gun was found either on him, maybe in his vehicle. I don't know if he literally had it on him in McDonald's, but that a gun was found connecting. So why did he keep the gun? Candace MP asks. That is a really good question. And one of the things that people have speculated about is, how serious was he about not being caught? Because if you're really serious about not being caught, and some things suggest he was, like the fact that he took a bus, which is a little more anonymous than, say, getting on an airline, like the fact that he wore a mask almost the entire time he was in New York City, with the one exception of the moment in time when they were able to catch him pulling it down at the youth hostel. So, and the fact that he used fake IDs, all of those things suggest that he had an intent to conceal his identity. But then you look at things like the messages on the bullet casings left at the scene, or you look at the fact that he, if the report is true, kept the gun from connecting him to the murder. The fact that he left his backpack in Central Park, where police were then able to find it. All of those things are odd and point to the opposite. That did he want to be caught? Did he, at least, was he so committed to making a statement that he was willing to be caught? Is that what he was saying? And so it is definitely something that the police are going to be unpacking for quite some time to come, because those two seem really in contradiction to me. I cannot explain, in other words, Candace, why on earth he would keep the gun. It seems very confusing. So Chemo Andrews is asking, how long will it take to get him back to New York City? Well, I think they said it was a 3.5 hour drive, but that's not the question you're asking. The question you're asking is about extradition. I would think it would be immediate. I don't think there will be any delay at all. I think he could be back there by tonight or tomorrow. I think it'd be quite quick. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not that's what occurred. It took a little while for Brian Koberger to get from Pennsylvania, where this same person has been questioned, out to Idaho. So maybe it'll take a little bit of time for that as well. But remember, and let's be careful, because this person hasn't been charged. They are merely being questioned. So and in fact, New York Police Department, as of the last report we had, hadn't even arrived yet. This was just local police saying, oh, he looks pretty similar, and calling in the New York Police Department to come down and to talk to him. So I think it may well be, excuse me, that it could take a while to get through that process and to determine, yes, we do believe this is the guy and we're ready to arrest him. Just a second. Okay. All right, so let's see if there are some more questions in here. I'm curious what y'all think about the question of the quote from the BBC, simmering anger against healthcare. Do you believe that there is simmering anger against healthcare in the United States? Do you think that's true? Do you think it's unique to the United States? And why do you think it's happening? I'd be interested in your comments on that. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to know what you think about that. All right, so here is James. James wants to know if he wanted to play the new Monopoly game at McDonald's. I don't know. I assumed it was a Big Mac attack. I'm a fries person, so maybe it was the fries. Who knows? But I don't know how quintessentially American it could possibly be to be arrested at McDonald's. The whole thing is bizarre. But if that is the case, then he was caught by McDonald's employees while at McDonald's, and according to one of the articles we looked at, on his laptop at a table there, right in the McDonald's area. I guess he'd probably just eaten. Strong person of interest, says Kathleen. That may be what they're calling him. Thank you. SW, do you think a jury will be sympathetic to his cause? I don't think they should be, because the question isn't whether you had a perfectly good reason to want him to be angry at United Healthcare. The question is whether or not he was justified in murdering somebody, and justified isn't even actually the standard. If he is found guilty of having murdered somebody, not in self-defense, then that's what it should not enter into the jury's decision making, that they're sympathetic to his cause. Nor do I think that a judge will let his cause come in. It would come in at least a little bit because they probably would want to put in those bullet casings that had the message on it. That's going to be part of how they link somebody to this crime. Then they're going to want to put in the manifesto saying, I'm mad at United Healthcare, if there is one. And they're going to want to put that in to say, this is the right person. We found the person who actually committed this crime. But none of that should be taken into account by the jury for sympathy. That isn't how we decide crimes in the United States. So I think no, it should not. Weatherman. I don't know what you're saying, Bobby. I saw your question marks, but I don't know the answer to I don't know your question, so I can't answer that one. Okay. So, and for those of you who are not regulars here, I am no good at all with cryptic things, or if you put in acronyms, I never know what the acronym is. So please write it out. If you have a question, just assume I'm not going to get it on air. It's going to take me a little bit. Okay. Somebody noting about the COVID, it is really fascinating, the distinction, because 5 years ago, if someone had been wearing a mask around New York City, it would have looked really sketchy and suspicious. People would have thought, what is that person doing that's no good? Because they're clearly up to no good. There must be a robber. 5 years ago, that would have been what people thought. Now with COVID, it's become acceptable to wear masks around. So it's really fascinating that he took advantage of that and used that to move around New York City, only failing one time. And police, to their credit, tracked that down. Tardigrade had a question further up. Maybe could you put it in again, because it's going to be super hard for me to find that. I'm probably not going to be able to find it in the chat. It's really hard to do, scrolling up and down, and it keeps moving while you're looking at it. So it's difficult to do. So if you would, please put it in again. All right. So I am taking a look for question marks at the beginning. That'll help me spot your questions and be able to answer those. So, okay. Ronan is asking me, why would the police release the information of the writing on the bullets? Don't they normally keep such information under the vest? So I think that they do keep information under the vest, and we don't know what information they had that they didn't tell us about. We just know the part they did tell us about. You have a good point. That could kind of point toward motive. I think they were either one of a couple of things. One could be they already had a pretty good idea who it was. Or it could be that they felt like that motive was so important that people would be headed off on tangents if they didn't give that information to the public. In general, I like to see a more open posture from law enforcement, because I think that the power of social media has the ability to help law enforcement as it works on, solves, investigates crimes. So I was glad that they did it, but you're right that not every law enforcement office would do that. And it's not clear how they chose that particular fact to let out as opposed to say something else that we don't know about, but we'll find out about later. All right, so I'm looking for question marks at the beginning. Oh, and Mandy has been a member for 9 months. That's fantastic. Midday live stream. Yes, all new and different for us. We normally go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So tonight we will be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we may well be covering this case. If there are any new developments, we may well be back on this case, or we may be going to a different case. We will wait and see. I had another case lined up, but I think this is important enough that we may hit it again at 7 p.m. if it warrants it. So, and KB is a new member. Welcome. We are super glad to have you as a member here on the Lawyerly channel. Thank you for joining. All right, so I'm going back to the question marks. If he's terminally ill, how would prosecutors handle it? Abby Stark asked. That's one of the things I had speculated about too, Abby, is what if the reason he just was so open with this, although he wore a mask and he used a fake ID, so he wasn't completely open about this, but maybe one of the reasons he took this step was because he needed personally medical care, and he's in some kind of terminal illness, and maybe he was afraid. He wanted this treatment. They denied him, and that anger is what prompted him. That's his motive behind his decision to commit murder. I wondered about that too. But let's say a criminal defendant is terminally ill. How would the prosecution handle it? Well, they would treat it, for the most part, the same as they would any other case. If the person has committed a crime, they need to suffer the consequences of that. And the system includes that you will be arrested if you're a danger to the community. You will be kept in jail until your trial. And then at trial, you'll be tried in front of a jury of your peers. And if convicted, you'll go to prison. Sometimes there's some kind of compassionate release when someone is in the very end stage. Clearly, somebody, though, who's walking around town, able to kill someone, able to fire a gun, able to take cabs, able to take buses, and even can pull down his mask and smile at people. That's not somebody who is in the end stages of disease. So I don't think there would be any difference. I mean, occasionally a prosecutor might say, well, I might delay this one a bit because it's going to cost resources and the person is dying. But that would be very rare, I think. And I don't see any reason that someone would do that here. Even if he's terminally ill, I think the prosecutors would proceed along the same route that they normally would do. All right, so I'm looking for question marks at the beginning. That's how I'll know that to spot it. Are the McDonald's employees getting the reward if it's validly the suspect? Haystack asks. I would think they would be eligible for it if they're the ones who called. I don't know if they'll have some, if everyone in the McDonald's will claim a piece or how they will make that decision, but I would think they would be eligible for that. All we know so far is that this person is being questioned. We don't have any additional information other than that the person is being questioned and that the concern is that they may be a person of interest in the case. So they're being questioned in connection with this. So that's what we're being told, but we haven't been told anything more specific. We'll do a double check. The New York City mayor, that's what y'all were referring to earlier, has said police have a strong person of interest. So I think they meant a person of strong interest. Is he a strong person? But anyway, that's what the New York City mayor has said. It matches the description of the identification and is in possession of several items that we believe will connect him to this incident. That's what CNN is reporting from a press conference by Mayor Eric Adams, that they believe he's a strong person of interest. So police think they have the guy. They think they have the guy on video. That's what I'm reading into this. There's no report right now that there's been an arrest. just that they think they have this person, a strong person of interest, as the mayor put it, and in possession of several items. So I think that the next most likely step would be we'll hear that there's been an arrest, and then the person's name will be released, and there will be more information then that will fall out from that as we begin to learn what exactly the motive was, what exactly the steps he took to commit this murder were. That's the kind of thing that we'll learn. And we'll also probably get a better sense of what exactly the evidence is that ties this person to the crime, because that's always an issue. The fact that there was a crime and that someone over here is being questioned, those two have to be connected up, or obviously they cannot arrest him. Are there new pictures released? I have not seen any. There probably would be a mugshot released if someone is arrested, but right now there's nobody been arrested. They questioned his wife, somebody says. Well, that's really quick, but you know what else that says to me? That says to me they already knew who it was, because I don't think they could have found him at McDonald's and gotten to his wife fast enough. So I would say if that's the case, then I would say it's probably pretty likely that they already knew it. There was already speculation about that. Mighty Mulatto is suggesting better health care for the incarcerated. I will tell you what, that is a place where there is so little health care. It's terrible. It's just terrible, really. The health care in prisons is appalling. I had a client one time. It was terrible. It was mental health care in that case, but it was just absolutely appalling what happened to that man. So a New York Times reported his name and image. Oh my goodness. No, I haven't seen that yet. And let's see what the New York Times has to say. Oh, I'm behind the paywall on the New York Times, so I don't know. But CNN will have it pretty quick, I would think. They're saying they arrested a man, matching the description. The arrest occurred by the Alatoona police. So now we have to have it connected back to the New York. They had said they were asking the New York Police Department employees, officers, to come down and question him. So I'm sure that has been done. I'm sure that there are already people there questioning. All right. So this is not reporting a name, just a strong person of interest, the mayor's quote. So CNN is not reporting a name. Interesting that they have an actual name. 2 lives in a day, says Shard's words. Yeah, that's a big day for us. That is a big day. All right. So I'm going to, I'll answer one or two. Oh, thank you so much, KB. KB gifted 20 Lawyer Lee memberships. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. That is really great. If you don't know, hopefully our mods who are Marlon and mamapinks and denisepelton, they will put some instructions in the chat where you can learn how to turn on the ability to receive a gifted membership. You have to literally turn a switch on your computer. You have to hit a button to do that. You can also join with the join button down by the channel name Lawyer Lee, unless you're on your iPhone, and then you won't see that. And Asian Posh Doreen has been a member for 3 months. Fantastic. And from Ohio. Great to have you, Asian Posh. I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for being here. Well, we're going to call it quits right now, and I will see you again at 7 p.m. tonight. We'll either have more information on this case or we'll be moving on to the other case. See you tonight.